We're going to keep the conversation going here with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, Sully, how are you today?
What's happening, man?
Let me tell you, I'm beat. These responsibilities I had last night.
It's only week 2, man. Come on.
It's only week 2, but let me tell you, there's more football stuff on the NJ.com website today than you can shake a stick at. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning before I actually got to go to bed. So
really, wow.
Yeah, so but that's okay. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling all right. I'll catch a little nap a little bit later on.
Hey, you guys do a great job, man, and it's so informative to guys like myself who don't have access to all these teams and coaches and stuff as much as we'd like to just go on there and find out any information we can. And we appreciate you guys doing so much for high school sports, throughout the state.
Yeah, I mean that's the job, and we look forward to it every day. And like I said, there's tons of information out there. So if you're looking for anything from just a score to what happened between the state's 2 top teams last night, it's all there.
How's the wife reacted to all this work you're doing?
So far, so good.
Good. You're out of her hair. She don't mind.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we still distinctly remember the 8 months that I didn't have a job.
True. Yeah.
So that's there's a paycheck coming in now on a regular basis, so everything's good.
Awesome, man. So let's dive into some high school football. Obviously, some big stories out there from last night. We talked a lot about St. Joe, but some other big wins. When you talk about a team like West Deptford over Delsey, and then Haddonfield with a real nice win in their kind of homecoming after not being able to play at their stadium for more than a year. Lenape. So what do you want to dive into first?
Well, you talk about those different things. I mean, obviously this year in specifically to the West Jersey Football League, because that's in your area, that there were a ton of new coaches this year, and last night at Washington Township, Mike Schatzman got his first win. They knocked off Atlantic City 21-0, and you look at Lenape, Joe Wojciechowski comes in for Tim McInerney. Coming off of that championship season last year, they start the season 0-2, and they go through some very tough times at the beginning of this week with the death of Mark Lilly, who was a longtime assistant under Tim McInerney at a number of different schools, and really a guy that everybody had looked to as kind of a hero. And he passed away from colon cancer on Tuesday. So they're kind of. I'm sure last night was a very emotional game for them, and they find a way to knock off Vineland 17-14, so and get Woj his first win, and you throw out there West Deptford and Delsey. I mean that's a matchup of 2 Gloucester County schools that have been powerhouses in their respective groupings. West Deptford in Group 2 and Delsey in 3, and really had never played each other all that much. And I was kind of surprised West Deptford. I think for the most part kind of took care of business last night. They won the game and then looked as, I haven't dug real deep into it, but, to hold Delsey and that high-powered offense to, I believe, just 12 points is saying something. So, there's, there was plenty of great football games all over, the state, especially South Jersey, for people in this area last night. And, that's, I think, what we're gonna get on a weekly basis.
That West Deptford Delsey game probably took about 20 minutes. Was there even a pass in that game?
I don't know. There's been times when especially with Delsey, you look at Delsey stats, after like the 8th week of the season, and they passed the ball 15 times, and then you look at a team like a Timber Creek who might throw the ball 15 times in the first quarter. So, that game, but probably from a fan's perspective, moved pretty good. But
couldn't even get the hamburgers cooked by the time it was over.
That very well may be true. That very well may be true. But I'm sure that was an entertaining game. It's like we've said in the past. It's just a shame that you can't get and see everything that you really would like to, because you have obviously you can only be at one place. But like I said, great another great Friday night of high school football, and for the most part, I think the weather held off.
Talking with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. And Kevin, I wanted to give you a minute or two just to talk about Coach Lilly and what he's meant to everybody in that area. We're kind of going through the same thing here in Atlantic County with Coach Bill Walsh of Holy Spirit going through ALS. And talk a little bit about that and what it means. You know, these high school coaches, I don't think ever really get enough credit for what they do, not only the work they do with the teams, but just being that mentor figure for so many guys throughout, their careers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably take that for granted, and there are certain situations where, and certain geographic areas, to be honest with you, where coaches have to be that father figure. There's a lot of places that, for the most part, that may not be true, but there are quite a few guys who, go, you want to say maybe above and beyond, and don't look for credit and don't want the credit. Mark Lilly was a guy, I didn't know him tremendously well, but through the years, because he coached under Tim McInerney at Bishop Eustace, at Holy Cross, and then finally with him at Lenape, that you did see him, and he always said hello and always was welcoming, and he was the kind of guy for Lenape that, these kids kind of rallied around, I guess, once he became sick, and you could see him not being able to participate as much as he wanted to do, and there were kids that would they would literally run out of a drill to go get his chair and set him up for practice, and coaches would be like, where are you going? And, well, got to get Coach a little chair. So he was a big factor in Lenape these last couple years, and I know they had set up his chair again last night for the game, and I'm sure it was probably a very emotional night, but he's just one of those kind of guys that kids can turn to and they spend a lot of time with, and like you said, there are coaches out there who do little things here and there that people might not know about to help a kid out here and there, and I think that's part of being a coach. You can't be just an X and O's guy. That may have been 20 or 30 years ago for the most part. It's just not that way anymore. And, people think that they get paid all this, a lot of extra money for doing this, and they should be grateful and thankful and all, I think sometimes that extra money comes out to be pennies on the dollar for the amount of time.
Comes out to about $1 an hour.
Exactly. But, and it's just not football. It's across the board. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, to be a coach in this day and age, you have to realize that you're going to be giving up a great deal of your time or finding a way to combine the time that you want to spend with your family and your responsibilities of your job with a handful of kids who really need it.
Well, there's certain coaches, Kevin, and you've been around long enough to know this, where you could ask a group of high school football players, hey, go run as fast as you can into that brick wall, and they'll be like, what are you, nuts? All right, do it for Coach Walsh. You got it. Do it for Coach Lilly. You got it.
Exactly. There's kind of kids who get it, I guess, is a way to maybe a way of putting it, and they realize that maybe they're a little bit more fortunate than someone else, or they're in a better place than someone else, and they're willing to to do these other little things that might not really be all that big a deal to a lot of people, but when push comes to shove, these little things start to add up, and definitely can help maybe ease the situation a little bit and soften it up a little bit, that and try to find, I guess, the positive that you can in such bad situations.
Well, obviously, we'll all send our thoughts out to the Lilly family, and it's always tough when you lose a guy who's meant so much to high school sports. And turning the page a little bit here to some of the teams in South Jersey, Kevin. One team that's really impressed me is Haddonfield. I mean, always a championship team, but they came down and really handled Pleasantville pretty well in week 0, and to get that win in their homecoming. I mean, they hadn't played a home game in almost 700 days, and that had to be a great experience for that fan base to come home and get a big win on a Friday night and feel great about yourself for the whole weekend.
Yeah, last year Frank Delano, coach at Haddonfield, he probably had to really sell it and really get the kids to buy in, and they truly did. They played their quote unquote home games at Cherry Hill West last year, but they still had to load the bus. They still had to load the equipment, the water buckets. They had to have pregame, meals and things like that before a game. Whereas if they were home, and got comfortable at home, that they just didn't have. And they finally got their stadium reconstruction completed, and obviously last night they go out and they beat Cinnaminson 21-0. And it's got to be nice for those kids who were on the team last year to not have to go through that again, and to win in the first game back. Obviously, it was a huge deal for them, and they're a team, Sully, that they're a Group 2 team, but they're very good. And I think on a one-game basis, maybe on a two games here or there, they could probably compete with a lot of teams, no matter what the size. Frank Delano gets a lot out of those kids. They're tough kids. They do all the little things right. And, it's coach speaking, it's cliche and all with a lot of guys and taking it one game at a time and one play at a time. But, they really do it that way. And obviously you cannot argue with the success. And coming off of a championship last year, I think right now with the way things have shaken out in these first 3 weeks of the season, maybe right now they are the favorite in Group 2.
Talk with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. And Kevin, real quick before we let you go, got to talk a little bit about Williamstown. I mean, this team is off to a great start, and one of those teams that went through a really tough graduation cycle a couple of years ago, kind of started rebuilding themselves last year, and maybe this is the year that they get back to where they have been in years past.
Yeah, this group, when they were sophomores, only won 3 games, and there was a lot of sophomores on the field that particular season. And last year they go 5-5, and right now they're 3-0, and they are a legitimate contender in Group 5. And right now, I think if you looked at Group 5, you might think that you might say they are the favorite. And I'll to be honest with you, based on these last couple of years, I was a little bit skeptical about Williamstown. I kind of wanted to see them prove that they were as good as a lot of people are talking about. And I'll tell you, through 3 weeks now, and especially last night, I think that score was 35-6 over Millville. And I know Millville has played a difficult schedule these first 3 games, but Millville's competitive, and they have athletes, and they play the game hard. And here's a Williamstown team dropping 35. So, I think Frank Fusatola is doing a good job down there. He's got a great group of assistant coaches around him that handle the responsibilities. And, clearly right now they are a team to watch. And, it was the game of the week for the South Jersey Times last night. And, they got their mini footballs and everybody was happy. So I think, like I said, Williamstown, J.C. Collins at the quarterback and Wade Inge as a running back, defensive back for them as their kind of 2 core leaders of that team. As long as they stay healthy, I think they're going to be a team in Group 5, and we're going to be seeing playing for maybe a piece of hardware.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We appreciate it. I'm sure you got a ton of work to do this weekend to kind of wrap everything up from last night. So we'll let you get to it, man.
Hey, Sully, anytime. And like I said, every Saturday morning at this time, we love jumping on and talking to you guys.
Love having you, bud. Appreciate the time and effort.
Thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.